Going to begin now a brand new Sicha, Parshas Zochur, printed in Likkutei Sichos, Amelek Chaf Aleph, page 190. Aleph, if the Takanov and Kriyas Parshas Zochur, regarding this institution, that the Chacham instituted that we should read Parshas Zochur, Leinin B'teira dem Shabbos far putim the Parsha from Zochur asher also the Amelek, that we have to read the section of remembering what Amelek did to us, and this is always read the Shabbos before Purim. Frek the Magen Avram, so the Magen Avram, the Shulchan Aruch asks the following question: we find many different type of mitzvahs when it comes to remembering. There's different remembrance that we have to remind ourselves in the brachas of Kriya Shema and in Kriya Shema. Matan Torah, we have to remember Matan Torah. Maisa Amelek, we have to remember Amelek. Maisa Miriam, the Maisa what happened to Miriam. Shabbos and Maisa an eagle, and we have to remember Shabbos and Maisa eagle. Sheis Chidus was Farvos hat ihm Sacken gewinnen, so leine Beteda Parshas Amelek dafke nicht bezichrenis beschiris achirim. So the Magen Avram asks a very partial shaila. Why is it that when it comes to this schira, we have sheish schiras every day? We have to remind ourselves of Shabbos and Miriam and Matan Torah and Maisa Eagle. Yet the Chachamim instituted a special kriya for Amelek. The question is why? Why Dafka Amelek? Why not institute a special kriya for Miriam or for Matan Torah? Or so when I answered, and the Magen Avram answers, as Matan Torah yishlanu chagatzeres. He says by Matan Torah you have Shavuos, then Shabbos, and you have also Shabbos. And the story of Miriam and the story of the eagle, there's no institution, or the Chacham didn't institute a special kriya for these, because this speaks about the ginus, speaks about the Yidden in a derogatory manner. So the Rebbe says the Chayriz is aber nit king tiris mas, but this answer is not enough. Why? If you want to say that the reason why we don't have a special kriya for Matan Torah is because Shavuos, so you can say the same thing by Maisa Amelek. You have Purim. What's this for? Amelek, which Purim is connected with reminding ourselves about Amelek and wiping out Amelek. Because as the kriya from Purim is the parsha from Mechamas Amelek. We have Amelek. What are we laying on Purim? We laying the parsha of Amelek. Even more so, thus was Parsha Zochur is the Shabbos far Purim. The reason why Parsha Zochur always comes before the actual holiday of Purim is is in order that the actual asiyah, the action, should not become before the zechira. In other words, Purim is the idea of what happened to Amelek, the Gashmias, that destroying Haman. And we want to remember before speaking about the action. Haste stuff. As Purim is the asiyah for the Parsha Zochur. So what do we see from this Gemara? That Purim is the actual asiyah, it's the doing, is the action of the schira of Parsha Zochur. So now the Rebbe says, why do we have to have a separate takana for reading the remembrance of Amelek? Because their parsha, the Shabbos parsha Zochur, until we call it we call this parsha, this week's parsha, Parshas Zochur. So the Rebbe, the question of Magen Avram is a very good question, but the answer the Rebbe says is still tzarefim, or the lashon of the Rebbe, Abrit King Tiritz Maspik, because at the end of the day, if you want to say that Shavuos you have, or Matan Torah you have Shavuos, Shabbos, it doesn't answer the question, because you could still say that Purim you have Amelek, we read Parshas Amelek, and it's mamish connected one to another. Yet we still have the Shabbos before Parshas Zochur, before Purim, Parshas Zochur that we lay. The Rebbe says the full mashma from this it's mashma as the takana from Parshas Zochur is nit nor was is talking zman miyuchid ifshe the man Maisa Amelek. This that the Chacham instituted Parshas Zochur is not only because they didn't find like a better time, There's a special advantage of remembering the Maisa Amelek in regards to all other Schiras. And the question is, Daf Marstein, what is the Inyan Miyuchad by Schiras on Maisa Amelek? What's so special by the Maisa Amelek? What is Nito by the Ander Schiras, which is not by any other of the Schiras? Or was therefore hat men dafke for the Schila Kevegven a Primi Chedas. In other words, Maisa Amelek, there's something special about it. The Chachamim wanted a special parsha, the Shabbos before Parshas Purim, Parshas Zochur, there should be a special kriya. The question is why? What's so special about Amelek, Maisa Amelek, that we have to have a special parsha about it? The Rebbe says the Cheder Adram, on the contrary. The Adar is Chid Zanin Yonim Klolim in the Hanaga Fana Yidin B'chol Eisi B'chol Mokim. The other Zechiras that we remember, that L'chaira is more general, and it's negea to every time and place. So let's take a look at this. Matan Torah is the foundation of all Torah mitzvahs. Shabbos is von den mitzvahs klalius, und was ist peil, nicht nur auf dem Tag von Shabbos, nur auf alle Shishis Me'afel. Shabbos is also a very general mitzvah, which we know Shabbos not only does it affect Shabbos itself, but it affects also the 6 days of the week. On the other hand, Maisa Egel, Hebech von Anechi V'Yilafot. Maisa Egel is the exact opposite of the oneness of Hashem. The Matas Ayidin Medaf Zayin abgehitten Shumiral. Wir sollen nicht kommen zu Efked Aleihem Avnesim. Was das ist doch kein euch abgehitten Nasitev. So when it comes to Maisa Egel, Maisa Egel reminds us not to do the Shomera, to do the Asitev. It's also very general. And let's take a Maisa Miriam, or Nafil Maisa Miriam, was is the Cheda Inyan Prati. So I did gebrach if the Tzos for Klal Yisrael of Aladeris. The whole story of Miriam seemingly is a very specific story, which didn't really affect the later generations. This is a lesson how much a person has to be careful. That even Miriam Hanavia, we learn from from the story, that you have to be so careful in Lashon Hara. Was is von die Averis a Chichamuras, wie Chazal sagen, as is Magla Averis Kineg Gila Averis Zara Gila Reis Shechazam, until Chazal tell us that speaking Lashon Hara is so severe that it's like the Gima Averis and Averis Zara even greater than, or at least as great as Averis Kinegit, Averis Zara Gila Reis Shechazam, which is damit, and with this, for the Shvesta is geht während der Gamri von hier. And this is, you have to be very, very careful about Lashon Hara. However, when you take the story of Amelek, it's a very specific mitzvah. It doesn't really show on it doesn't show on a qualistic concept. Shabbos, Miriam, Maisa Egel, these are all qualistic things. When it comes to Schiras Maisa Amelek, it's very, very specific. Yet, we find in the Schiras Amelek, there's a special mitzvah. Base. To me, in them, there's no starker. This question is even stronger. The top of Schiras Amelek is, what's the whole ultimate purpose of why we should remember what Amelek did? Is Mechias Amelek, is to erase Amelek. With the Hemshach HaKsuvim noch Zochur, like it says, V'haya b'aniach Hashem leikecha mikol yevecha, timcha zicher zecha Amelek, that we have to destroy, and the whole point of the Schira is in order to erase the Amelek. When the Rambam is das mas, but the Rambam explains Sivon Lisker Mashasal and Amelek, that we're commanded to remind ourselves what Amelek did, and to hate him b'chol eis ways, every time in the Sira Nafashis b'ma'amorim lilachim, we have to arouse to fight him. So if nowadays we cannot actually be mekayim the erasing of Amelek, why? Ba'alef mitzvahs mechias Amelek is nor when it is an alad masam when amatzah from menucha b'aniach Hashem lekefam mikolei vefam misav words. First of all, the whole mitzvah mechias Amelek is only when the Eden are actually controlling Eretz Yisrael. They're alad masam, and beis afilav and sevolt. Even if we had the condition, is that Meglis to durchführen Mechias Amelek, it's not really possible to actually erase Amelek while Kfar Allah Sancheiriv, Bilbo Sa'ilam, Chodah Parish, Mudaba Parish. The Rambam says that Sancheiriv came and he literally he mixed around all the nations other worlds. So really, we don't really know who Amalek is. So you can't really be Mekayim Mechias Amalek because there's a klal of kol de parish, miruba parish. When something comes out of something, we say the majority, it comes out of the majority. Okay, there's different halachas in how to quantify what kol de parish, miruba parish. But usually
it's meat or whatever.
Right, if it's okay, you're not going to give a taruvas class here, but if it's koveya or not kavua, if it's kavua. But the point is that nowadays, mechias hamalek you can't really mekayim because it has to be al the Muslim. And number two, it's we don't really know who Amalek is. So Kungdais comes out as even for Schiras Amalek was manazes nitazei nigel the pale. So the whole Schiras Amalek is really not nowadays. It's not really negea to our day-to-day life. And Alpha Bikin, nevertheless, if there's Schira Kivir given Akrim Yechelis Shabbos Yechelis, even though the Chayra, right? That's the Rebbe is asking. Peir is Nitzchis, and yet the Chayra, the whole Amaisa Amalek is not really negea nowadays because there's no Amalek. We don't know who Amalek is. There's no mitzvah to Mechias Amalek when we're not on Ad Muslim. So why would the Chacham institute something like you're saying Nitzchi on something which has absolutely no connection to the Zman Hazeh? So that Rebbe says in Gimel. But when das verstehen, behektem abir in dem etzem in for mitzvah Mechias Amalek. We'll understand this by first prefacing a general concept in the mitzvah of remembering Amalek. The Lecheda Aleph. Seemingly, the Baal is the Tachlis for Mechias Amalek is Mechias Amalek Kanal. If the whole purpose of Schiras Amalek is to we should remember why, in order to erase Amalek, our voice is the Dechiyah of Schiras Amalek of his man, when Alpiteres is Shayim Mechias Amalek Bepel. So if the whole purpose of remembering Amalek is in order to erase Amalek, why is there an obligation to remember something which is not Shayim? I'm remembering why in order to erase Amalek, but there's no Amalek nowadays. The whole Amalek, B'zman Hazeh, doesn't apply. And based, Ravos Dafrim B'chlalam Kumitzvah Bazund Ritziv Zochur Asher Asalach Amalek. They Tumeir Zan Hanafoshes Ba'am Morim Lilachim. What's the point of that we should remind ourselves? We're saying you should remind ourselves about Amalek. Why? In order that we should arouse ourselves, that we should fight them and eradicate them. There's another din. There's another pasuk in Torah. Timche, you should erase the remembrance of Amalek. Okay. So why do I have to have a separate tziva in the Torah of Zochur Asher Asalach Amalek? So he says, I'm going to give you an example. It's like the commandment by you should not allow the seven umis to live. So it says, the pasuk says, L'sechaya kol neshama. But nita bazun ritziva to gedenken zer ma'asim roim. You don't find that there's a special mitzvah that you have to remind of all what the Zayin Ummah is, the bad things they did. Was will bring in the tune to say in the nefashis lachamem, and you should remind yourself in order that you should arouse in your nefashis to fight them. So the Rebbe says the front goof of gedrungen as alpha plays a tachlis from Schiras Amalek is Mechias Amalek, even though the whole purpose of actually reminding yourself about Amalek is in order to erase Amalek is overdone. Inyan was tutzich oif in Schiras Amalek phrases. There's something special about just remembering about Amalek, whatever that is. Was der von rechten der Rambam, was der Fahr rechter Rambam, weil der ist der andere Meinung Mitzvahs, Mechias Amalek, Schiras Amalek, als zwei besondere Mitzvahs mit besondere Gedorim. That's why, if you look at the Rambam, there's one mitzvah of Mechias Amalek, of erasing Amalek, and then there's the mitzvah of Schiras Amalek, reminding ourselves. So it's two separate things. It's the idea of Schira and Mechia. For example, Mechias Amalek is for the mitzvah of Choiva ala Tzibur. To erase Amalek, that's an obligation on the congregation. Like Kamadeus says, the mitzvah if in Melech from the Tzibur. According to many opinions, there's a mitzvah on the Melech, on the king, to erase, to eradicate Amalek from the Tzibur. Und die mitzvah is just a mitzvah if in Melech from the Tzibur. Und die mitzvah hat kamen to know, the Apalachik is Bereshis B'nai Yisrael, and there's different halachas of when this applies. So that's in regards to Mechias Amalek. When it comes to actually reminding ourselves what Amalek did, Schira, that's a mitzvah on every single yid. When I'm mitzvah timidus, and a constant mitzvah, b'chol makom b'chol zman, every time and every place. Oh, It's not loading. Sorry. And I had the place. Well, there's something about this. It's not loading here in a second. How did it happen? Fudge. God. Oh, give me a second. Where is it? Patient my name's Steve. Yeah, Mashenkin scares a mode as a mitzvah if you had in the Yochid Bazuda and a mitzvah Tvidis. B'chol when there any of us were at Ufkut on their scares a mode for zich. So scares Amelek is something separate by every single yid and something constant. And this is accomplished by the scares Amelek for zich on an any clothing gaster. It's something very general in the entire term. Noch mer with the other scares now. So basically, the point is that there's something we're going to explain tomorrow, something very special about Zechiras Amelek. Just reminding yourself of what Amelek is. Baruch Yis, that I was going to explain, that has something to do with before you come to Mount Torah, you have to eradicate the Amelek in you. Okay, we'll finish this tomorrow. Okay, thank you.